Hi everyone, and welcome to this special episode of Roundtable Discussions in collaboration with the Montclarion. I'm your host, Glenn King. In this episode, we will be discussing my review of Thor Ragnarok, which you can find online at themontclarion.org. I'm joined here by Carlos Adandre from the Montclarion, and from the Video Production Club, Anthony Gabbianelli. Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having me on.
What did you guys think of this film overall? Like, what did you think of, like, anything? Tell me, just let me know.
So I appreciate what they were going for, making it more of a comedy. A lot of people aren't a fan of the first two Thor movies. I actually really like the first one, not so much the second one. I think it was a little muddled. I think they were trying to accomplish too much, and there were more characters than there had to be, and nothing seemed like it concluded in a sense. It was just sort of messy. There were like little bits and pieces of like something glorious, but overall I just thought that it was sort of like a cartoon, just a bunch of special effects and characters fighting with no real purpose.
Well, starting with the first Thor, I think it was serviceable. I don't think most people liked it, but it did just serve its purpose as to introducing Thor. The sequel, Dark World, I don't think anyone really remembers or wants to remember. And then for this one, I think it's just one big mess. They didn't really know what to do. They just kind of wanted to get this whole series over with so they can just jump into Infinity War and do whatever with Thor. But yeah, I didn't really like this movie at all.
What did you guys think of the character development between the characters? I personally thought it was very muddled. I thought it was all over the place, and I didn't really connect with any of the characters that were on screen.
So the one thing I appreciated from this movie that wasn't really an aspect of the other ones is that Loki didn't outshine Thor. He was sort of actually the star, whereas in the other movies I feel like Loki would take the spotlight away from him. So I think Thor's development was actually serviceable. The other characters, however, I didn't really feel for any of them. I just thought a lot was happening that didn't need to be happening, and the story was just a little muddled.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the whole Thor and Loki dynamic there, because I feel like with the first two, they were like, oh, Loki's really cool, and the audience really likes him, so let's have him more in the movie. But like I agree with what you said, that Thor really does outshine him with the development. But even with the characters, like some of the newer characters like Hela, the main villain, she unfortunately suffers from that Marvel villain syndrome where they're not as developed and therefore you don't really relate or like them at all. Marvel movies have kind of cured that in a way with, like, I think starting with Ultron, but even they kind of fell back with Hela. But yeah, most of the characters really didn't feel developed at all.
I remember in Thor 2 that one of the biggest consequences was at the end of the movie, there was Loki had taken control of Odin's body or whatever, not his body, but he transformed into Odin. Mm-hmm. So I thought that would be a major consequence in this film, but it's glossed over so quickly. I thought there would be character conflicts with that, but it would just happen. They just gloss over it. You see Matt Damon, and then the audience claps, and I was just like, oh, okay, I guess this is what's gonna happen. No,
I agree with that. That's one of the biggest flaws I think with the movie was that the entire time, if you watch Thor 2, you were like, okay, well, what happened to Odin? I wanted to know. And leading up to this movie, it solves itself in the first 10 minutes, and that was just one real big it was one big fault for me because I was like, oh, I want to know what happened because Odin's one of the big guys in all of Marvel comics, and then he's gone. You don't need to see him anymore. It's over in the first 10 minutes, and that's it.
I just think the comedy in this, there were funny bits and pieces, but it was very lackluster. And I think that suffers from that is that they were trying to make it this comedy film, and they got a comedy director in Taika Waititi, but it didn't work for me personally. I thought that the jokes fell flat, and sometimes when they had to be serious, they were laughing. Like when Asgard blows up and they make a joke 2 seconds later. Yeah. It's like people's houses. Why are you?
Do you think they did it because, for a comedic purpose, to get rid of, oh, you're worrying about this so much and, oh, it's over?
I feel like they were, kind of rushing through it, just, so we can get to Infinity War and get to where these characters have to be for Infinity War. It's I wanted this film to be, the best film ever, but it wasn't. It was just lackluster, and I just don't care about Thor, Loki, or any of these characters.
A highlight for me, even though she didn't have a lot of development, was Hela, Kate Blanchett. I thought she was a compelling villain. I thought she was really good in the performance, at least.
I kind of disagree with that.
Yeah.
She was very cookie cutter, and her assistant or whatever, her sidekick, the executioner, was also awful. He was just he was so bland. I really didn't get a feel for him. He was just there just to be there, and like Hela, she was there also just to be there. Like, oh, she's all powerful, but why? Why weren't we introduced to this character like, or not introduced, but why weren't we like hinted to this character at like in Thor 1, or like, I want to know more about her, and I feel like we didn't really get anything from this movie.
His dad just loves secrets.
Yeah, like it's just, oh, you have a sister. It's like, oh, okay, I guess. And like, I didn't like that at all. I thought that was very childish. What did you guys think about the CGI in the film?
I think with most Marvel movies, it's always really good. I think really the one Marvel movie that really lacks in the CGI department is Captain America 1. This one deserves all the CGI it needed, and it did really well with it. I really like the Krog, the rock alien guy, at that in the one gladiator place. Like he was really well animated and everything. Even the guy with the bug guy with the knives, he was really they're really well animated and everything. I don't think there's one flaw with the CGI really.
To me, like the amount of CGI was what was distracting, and I also thought the cinematography was a little weird. The way they would frame shots. I just didn't think it was on par with other Marvel films. I thought it was like really conventional. They weren't really trying anything new. I just didn't get a sense of like why this movie needed to be made, besides them needing another Thor movie, because they need another Thor movie.
But you would kind of need like the CGI though, because it's all in like space and everything. So I don't know how many practical effects you can really use. Even when whatever practical effects there were, like the sets and stuff were amazing. But I think the CGI was needed, and they did a serviceable job at least with it.
But like you look at movies like The Force Awakens, which uses a lot of practical effects, and then you look at this, and there's like a huge difference between them, because that movie uses a lot of practical effects with CGI, and it blends seamlessly. But this uses mostly just all CGI, and it doesn't. I feel like it's a cartoon. Like I'm watching a Saturday morning cartoon.
I got the same feeling
realistic
with the CGI in this when I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The amount of it I just thought was like way too. I think they could have done something more practical. It gave me a headache. I thought it was too much, and it was distracting at the fact that nothing felt real in a sense. I get what you're saying, that like there's no other way to do it, but maybe they could have just made it better. I'm not sure.
All right, well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks everybody for watching this episode. If you would like to see more episodes of Roundtable Discussions, go visit the Video Production Club YouTube page. My name is Glenn King. Thanks for watching.